Within our culture, do we still have a place for morality anymore? That's a serious question, and the fact that we can ask it is one of the biggest changes in my lifetime. Morality is what lifts us above the pursuit of self-interest and self-esteem. It's about the things we do not just because they're good for me, but because they're good for us. It's about doing things because we ought to, about duty, obligation, doing the right and honourable thing. At a national level, it's about the values, virtues and ideals that bind us together as a society. It's about collective responsibility for the common good. But these ideas have been radically out of fashion for some time. I believe this is dangerous for our future, because a world without morality is good for the successful and the strong, but very bad for everyone else. Can we rediscover a common moral purpose? I'm Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, and in this series I'll be speaking to some of the world's leading thinkers about morality, together with voices from the next generation, groups of sixth form students. After all, they're the generation that will have to face some of these big moral issues and deal with them. I wanted our conversations to help me understand how their views about morality will play a part in finding the solutions. The starting point for this journey is responsibility. Morality is about the responsibility each of us has for upholding the fairness and graciousness of our shared world. So I sat with Jordan Peterson, a professor of psychology at the University of Toronto and a passionate advocate of responsibility. Today he's one of the most famous and controversial public intellectuals, and early in his career he sought to understand the causes of 20th century totalitarianism. His recent book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, is an international bestseller, and his ideas have had an enormous impact, primarily on young men. I began by asking him about meaning and purpose in life.
We've been fed a diet of happiness and rights for 2 or 3 generations. It's thin gruel. Lots of times in your life you're not happy. And if you think the purpose of your life is to be happy, then during those times that you're not happy, you're bereft. And that's not helpful, because life is very difficult and people go through very long periods of time where they're trying to bear up under a very heavy load. It's much better to let people know that it's meaning that sustains people and not happiness, and that meaning is to be found in large part as a consequence of adoption of responsibility. And that's the missing half to any discussion of rights. Meaning is the right counter to happiness, and responsibility is the right counter to rights.
So tell me, here you are having looked at the psychological drive that allows people to allow totalitarianism and hence clamp down and suppress human creativity and freedom. But how come this is speaking to young people today when we live in perhaps the freest, most individualistic age that we've had in the West in all of history?
Well, there's 2 issues. One is the problem of totalitarianism. The other is the problem of nihilism. And nihilism is predicated on the observation that, well, that there are time frames, let's say, that you can apply to your being that seem to reduce it to meaninglessness. What difference is it going to make in a million years what I do? And there's an underground desirability about nihilism too, which is a more pernicious one, which is, well, my life is meaningless and that's terrible, but it also means I have no responsibility. And so that's the secret attraction of nihilism. And I think that many, many young people are trapped by their own rationality into either a totalitarian viewpoint, which is often encouraged by the universities, not least, or a nihilistic viewpoint. And those aren't the only 2 viewpoints. Like the viewpoint that the human being has a nobility of spirit and is an adventurer on the high seas of the unknown, and that is required to bear a tremendous amount of responsibility. That's a very credible story.